Hello, everyone. Welcome to another live stream by Lumino. And today is more special than any other day because my friends and co-hosts, Bill Carlson and Denise Gardner, will be our guests. Yes, that's right. But before we get there, let me remind you that every week, basically, we are having these streams, and you can watch them live like you're doing right now. And a good way for you to make sure you never miss one is to, one, subscribe to our channel. So hit the subscribe button on the channel. You can do that right now. It takes half a second. Help us a lot. You can also like our streams. When you do that, not only you show a little bit of appreciation, which we love, but you tell YouTube that this is a good content, and YouTube will tell other people about it as well, and other people will come and will join us in future streams. So I really appreciate if you guys can do that. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching on Facebook, hit like, hit the things that you have on Facebook. I don't even remember anymore. Or go to our YouTube channel and subscribe it there. But do that. Follow us also on Instagram, on Twitter. All of our handles are in the description below. So just look for the handles there, click on them, and follow us everywhere so you can know about our content. Before I bring Bill and Denise, I'd like us to watch together a video clip that is the theme of today's stream. So let's watch the promo for Expedition Earth.
My whole mission was this dichotomy of the mundane and the sublime. So I'd be like, work, and then take a second, and you'd see a view that humans weren't meant to see that is just, you can't even imagine. I saw the sunrise, and my first overwhelming impression was I'd never seen that shade of blue before. It was just beautiful. There's not even a word to describe it. It was like I'm seeing God out there in space. That kind of puts the mundane in perspective.
The view almost indescribable. Over.
Astronauts' lives are about pushing the limit, finding that next aviation challenge, and then the one after that. On his most recent mission, Colonel Terry Virts was in command of the International Space Station. The medical and biological investigations he did were part of a quest to figure out how our species can realistically get to Mars and beyond. Now, the astronauts have become the Aquanauts with a new mission. A television venture that will take you where few, if none, have gone before. Astronauts from around the globe will be working hand in hand to bring outer and inner space together. Because to further explore outer space, we have to become better explorers of inner space. The insight we gain will keep humankind's dream of space exploration alive. The uncharted frontiers of planet Earth, its underwater caves, oceans, its hidden landscapes, all serve as an extreme environmental research habitat. We need to continue to explore the unexplored and perfect our process of getting there, wherever there is. The passports we'll need in this quest are underwater rebreathers, exosuits, mixed gases, fixed-wing aircraft, helicopters, drones, diving computers, and underwater habitats. Where these astronauts are going, failure is not an option, and hope is not a strategy. Expedition Earth will build our understanding of how the human biological machine, our bodies, can endure in environments it most definitely was not meant to survive. We will journey to the undiscovered corners of our planet's inner space, starting with the abyss, a chasm deep within the labyrinth of crystal-clear underwater caves of the Yucatan. Then we'll steer east to the volcanic seamounts of Papua New Guinea, where we'll source the origins of all biological life on Earth. To the Guangxi province in China, to Lake Baikal in Siberia. From 250 miles above the Earth, much is revealed about our world. Our goal to push the envelope of exploration won't mean a thing if we destroy it all. Together, we can go far, so please join us on this amazing journey. Expedition Earth is ready for go.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing.
Who did
Well,
that?
Who did that anyway?
Whose voice was that on that video?
well,
I should probably change my voice for this interview now.
look, Pat knows. Pat knows. Check this out. Pat knows. Hey, Bill, that's you doing the voiceover, right?
No,
Yes,
it's
Pat.
me.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, cheap
Uh,
productions. This is a promo.
well, guys, before I start our conversation, let me just acknowledge that we have with us, as usual, our good friend Carl. He's always here.
Carl?
Pat is always here with us. We have Hugh from the Netherlands. That's
Hi,
pretty
Hugh.
cool. That's awesome.
That's fantastic.
Curtis is here, also from Minneapolis.
Hi,
We
Curtis.
we have André
Andre.
from Brazil.
Oh, Andre.
Hello, André. Olá, bem-vindo.
Bem-vindo.
We have David. We
David.
have.
All
By the
right.
way,
David,
David not only. Yeah, he not only liked and subscribed to our channel, but he said that he did it, which is good because he's
a follow through kind of guy.
Yes.
Beautiful film.
We have John from California.
Hi, John.
Yeah, usually it's just we have Gary
Tassone, my goodness.
There you go.
Did Tassone and I put on some miles, hey?
You have John. So thank you, everyone. And I'll read more comments. And as you guys comment and say hello and send questions, I'll keep reading them throughout the program. Thank you so much for. Oh, here's Philip from Arizona.
Oh,
That's
Arizona. Cool. Excellent. Much warmer.
Welcome, Philip.
I like your new senator, Philip.
Indeed.
All right, let's get to this thing because I just watched this clip for what it looks like a big deal of a project, right? So Denise, before I talk to Bill, because I know because today we have a bonus track because we're gonna go through some of Bill's work, and that's already mind blowing on its own. So Denise, can you please walk us through a little bit about Expedition Earth? What is this project about? Is it a movie? Is it a series? Is it a TV show? What is Expedition Earth?
Well, first of all, I don't want anybody to worry, particularly Bill. I'm not going to steal your thunder today. That is not going to happen. I'm going to lay low here.
All you have to do is stand next to me to steal my thunder.
Will you guys stop? I mean, I already separated you both. You see, you were in the same room before. Now, okay, let's get to it.
Let's get to it. Well, I when I met, really the brainchild for me was meeting Bill. And this is over 20 years ago. And he's the one who really introduced me to Jacques Cousteau and really got me immersed in my interest in the sea and in exploration overall. And it was through my relationship with him where I learned about cave diving. I hadn't even heard of cave diving. And so this has been a long time passion for me and for Bill. And this show is it's a series that is about exploration, underwater exploration. And we pick up where Jacques Cousteau left off in the 60s, in the 1960s, with his wonderful television series. And we feel that, there's a lot of great programming on television. There's Blue Planet, there's Planet Earth. There are so many wonderful series. But really on the topic of true exploration, I don't think there are any shows. And that's for a variety of reasons, but basically it points to the economics of how television and programming is done these days. If you can't storyboard it, television and film executives don't want to get involved. You don't know what you're going to find, and that's not what executives want to hear. And so this has been a real passion for us to find those who believe in what we're doing, who are truly interested in exploration. And that explains why we have linked up with NASA and various space agencies around the world and with astronauts, because astronauts are today's explorers. They go where no one has been before. They are putting their lives on the line. There's a quotation that we have in some of our materials. Dr. James Oberg, he says that next to space exploration, the most dangerous activity on Earth is underwater exploration, and that's true. And so this is serious stuff, and we're just excited that we're all together and we're working on this and making our lives count, and that we have so many colleagues and people who are cheering us on.
Today, I saw that the project is now on Kickstarter, right? So it's a Kickstarter project, and I can tell that the reason. I mean, I totally got your explanation about what TV producers want. They want the beginning, the middle, and the end,
Yes.
all scripted, and that's not what exploration is about. Exploration is about, we know how to start. We don't know what's going to be in the middle,
Right.
and maybe we come out of this alive, right? It's like
on the next corner.
yeah. Bill, and I speaking of coming out of this alive, I don't know if people on the stream, they noticed that, but many of those shots of cave diving, that's you, right? That's you going to like that. That's past programmings that you've been part of, documentaries.
Yeah.
So you are. Tell us a little bit about your experience with cave diving specifically, because we many of us know you as a cinematographer, as a photographer, but adding cave diving to the mix, I mean, you need to be a good one in both, right? Otherwise, you don't get the shot and you don't get out of this alive. Tell us a little bit about your experience with that.
Well, yes, I got into cave diving in the mid 1980s when it was very rare. In fact, we had our licenses revoked by PADI. If you're a diver, you know who PADI is. They're a licensing group. And they thought it was too dangerous. And in some cases it is, but I had very good training and became a certified deep cave diver. And I was thrilled. First time I swam into an underwater cave, I said, this is for me. But you're right, diving itself has to be second nature if you're filming. And I was lucky because I was one of the few cameramen who was certified cave diver. So I got lots of projects, and I worked for French television actually for many years, and in various other networks, NHK in Japan, and TVE in Madrid. So I was very fortunate. And on that note, photography has always been my ticket to ride. Since I was a still photographer, and then I went into film and video and digital acquisition, I got to go to places that I never would have gone, swim in caves that were totally off limits to open water divers or anyone else. And so I was very lucky. And I've always had the philosophy, I'd rather be lucky than good. So
that seems to be a good philosophy. Denise, getting back to you, what are the challenges from of course we know a project of this size. I mean, and a lot of this is mentioned in the clip, right? Infrastructure that's going to be needed, and equipment, and from helicopters to habitats, and so it's a big deal, right? Like, how do you, as the producer of this series, how do you organize that, and how do you go about bringing these pieces and building this puzzle in a way that it works in
Well,
the
I
end?
think I'm just going to fake it until I make it, and then no one will know otherwise. But I think it goes back to why we are doing the Kickstarter campaign. The Kickstarter campaign is not to cover our expenses in the production. The Kickstarter campaign is to help us put together the best application we can for the National Science Foundation. The National Science Foundation is, really invested heavily in these kinds of activities. And when I say that, I mean exploration. And so and you say, what's the most important element in producing something like this? It's really time. It's time, because we want to do this safely. We joke about death and cheating death, but it's to just get serious for a moment. This is no joke. We can't be rushed. We're taking, this is a serious endeavor. We have linked up with some of the best explorers in Mexico for this particular episode. Roberto Junco and Dante Garcia. They're with Mexico's Underwater Archaeology Department. Jill Einerth and Eric Hutchison and others. These are people who are going to, Dawn Kernagis, she's with NEMO, NASA's Extreme Environmental Mission Ops. These are people who are going to be putting their lives on the line because we're going to be making serious pushes into the systems in the Yucatan, and that takes time. And we're prepared to be in the Yucatan for as long as it takes. So that could be 1 month, that could be 6 months, that could be a year. And we're not going to be rushed. We're not going to be operating on anyone's particular timeline other than our own. And so how do I go about doing this? I want to make sure that everything is organized and rational on the front end. And so that's why this development campaign is so important, so that we have the requisite assets in place and the resources in place so that we can have a production that makes sense, because we're not putting on a play,
So this is all about making. Can we call this the pilot?
Yes.
Is that what it is? Okay.
That's right.
So this is all about putting together a killer pilot that will get people excited about making the rest of the series, right? Like producing the rest of the series.
That's right. Yeah.
You mentioned Yucatan, and Bill, you've been there already, right? Like you've been diving and producing material in the Yucatan before.
Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges of that specific area?
Oh, sure. The Yucatan we chose for the pilot because we have worked in the Yucatan for several years, probably starting in the mid 80s, running through the early 2000s. We set the Guinness Book of Records for longest underwater cave penetration. And initially in the early 90s, it was 43,000 feet. And over the years, we've pushed that cave all the way out to over 250,000 feet. So I've been very active down there. There was a joke that I would, 307 is the main highway on the coast. And my friend Mike Madden would joke that I was going to pass myself on that road because I spent all of my time in Tulum in the cave system surrounding Tulum. But it's for us, it's old home territory. And that's why we chose it for the pilot. But then we're going to take those same skills and move on to, say, Guangxi province in China, which is one of the largest karst systems in the world, and offers immense exploration options.
I should add, too, at this point that people might be wondering, why do we need to explore underwater cave systems? I mean, who cares, right? I mean, this is, is this just show and tell? Well, I think what people may not understand is that so much of the cave system, at least in the Yucatan, hey, Christopher Gray, hey, Enrique.
Katie just walked through your background. So Lumino is a very busy place.
We're very busy. So much of the Yucatan is unexplored, and what's interesting is that we can understand so much about early human migration through exploration of the underwater cave systems. 10, 20, 30,000 years ago, the sea levels were much lower. And these cave systems were areas where people traveled, where people worked in or lived in, and they were places of shelter. And so we're going to find early Pleistocene human remains, and possibly other human remains. So not necessarily Homo sapien. We could be finding Denisovian. We could be finding Neanderthal. There are so many other human species that we could uncover, and that's really the wonder of it. We explore underwater, we explore our oceans for the same reason that we explore outer space. We want to know what we're going to find. We want to be able to understand our story as humans, right, but also as residents of planet Earth. What is our story?
So the scientific treasure is huge, right? Like the discoveries that can be made in a project like this,
yes,
are immense.
That's, to put it lightly. I mean, that's why it's so important that we work with the head of underwater archaeology in Mexico, so that the protocols are followed. You know, for when we do find something, it's not like we're just going to grab it and throw it in our bag. There has to be very intense protocols have to be followed, and then of course there's genetic testing. I mean, what's so great about what we have available to us now is rapid genetic testing. When we can do DNA analysis on any kind of biological material that we find and get results rather quickly, whereas 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it was a long wait. So I think that's exciting. I mean, to be able to turn that around and be able to analyze it and extrapolate those findings into some kind of broader meaning, broader context.
And Bill, have you found anything back then when you were there? Like, have you found anything that was that could be considered some sort of a archaeological discovery? Did you get that impression? Because I'm thinking you chose the Yucatan because there's stuff there, right? Like there's stuff to be found. It's not like you guys are going into this blind. Like there's some treasure, there's some stuff to be found there. Have you found anything before? What makes you so confident that this is the place to start?
Well, very early on in our exploration, I mean, probably end of 86, 87, we were diving a system that at that time we called the car wash, because the local taxis would pull in there and wash their cars. And it was really just it was just a cenote back in the jungle. And we were trying to sample a species called Remipedia, working with Dr. Jill Yeager, who was the discoverer of the Remipedia. It's a small animal that lives in the saltwater and freshwater boundary layer in the cave. And we were commissioned to do samples. And so, but during the process, we swam back and found a huge stalagmite that had been hewed and carved out, the middle carved out, and the middle made into like a fireplace. That probably, we got a sample, a carbon sample out of it very gently, had it carbon dated, and it was 9,600 years old, plus or minus. And so that was one of our earliest discoveries, and we called the place the Chamber of the Ancients, because we're sure that people either used that fireplace ceremonially 9,000 years ago, or they used it for light to gather water from the cenote.
Mm. And it's probably like, is it wrong to say that the Yucatan is a place that no matter how long time you spend there exploring, it will keep giving, because it's one of those, like the Galapagos, like it's one of those places that like for those who know where to look or who insist, there will always be something there.
I feel so, and history has proven so, because since I've been diving down there and then being engaged in other operations that kept me away from the Yucatan, scientists have discovered human remains, and they have been dated back to about 14,000 years ago. So that's only at the tip of the iceberg, where we're going to be able to, with new technology, with rebreather technology, as opposed to this technology, open circuit. They just have a few props today. And,
That's nice.
it's the new technology allows us to spend so much more time
Right.
underwater with mixed gases that it's just bound to show up, because
Right.
these caves are all interlocked. It runs as far as a couple hundred miles to Merida, and we've done some diving in Merida, which is spectacular. So yeah, I think that it's just now it is just as fertile ground as it was then.
Denise, what's the format of the series? How is it going to be? Is it going to have a hero, like someone that's it's going to be leading the exploration, or is it about a team? Each episode will follow a different group.
We must be having a Vulcan mind meld, because I was just thinking, I hope he asks me about that. Well, it's this first episode, this pilot episode, will take place in the Yucatan, and it's possible that we'll have maybe 3, 4, 5 episodes taking place in the Yucatan. I just have to see. But ultimately, we're looking to go around the globe. So as Bill alluded to earlier, we're going to explore next in the karst systems of the Guangxi province in China. And they really dwarf the Yucatan, which is, hard to believe that something could dwarf the karst system of the Caribbean, but it does, and it's almost entirely unexplored. And along with that, we hope to link up with astronauts within the Chinese space agency, with whom we have some contacts already. And then that would lead to exploration in other parts of the world, linking up with astronauts from those different space agencies. So the Japanese Space Agency, the Australian Space Agency. If we were to pursue work in the Arctic, we would go with the Canadian space agencies. I mean, so it's in a way, it's like the Olympics of exploration. We'll be bringing people from around the world together, and hopefully in that way we can allow each country, each region to have some pride and some stake in what we're doing. And it should be interesting. Yeah, I mean, I kind of give myself chills up my own spine when I think about the possibilities of what we can do. Obviously, it's going to take an enormous team, many teams working together simultaneously around the globe. I mean, if things go according to plan, this is going to be like planet Earth, where we have multiple production units all around the globe, all working at the same time. But safely. And it's, and like I say, it's important that we work with these space agencies and with these astronauts, because they really are the ones who have the right stuff. That's right. And, it goes back to the conversation that Bill and I had years ago when we were talking about this idea of a series, and, well, who would lead the series? Who are the Jacques Cousteaus of today? I'm like, well, is it those guys in the, Alligator Alley, that show? No, or Swamp, Swamp people? Like who are the real, explorers? And then Bill said, it's the astronauts. And I said, astronauts? Well, they don't go underwater. And then, I didn't know anything. And of course, they do. They have in Houston, just for starters, almost a replica of the International Space Station in a buoyancy lab underwater. So the astronauts will do all kinds of exercises and routines underwater, which is the best analog for outer space. It's remarkable.
And also that they have the bug, right? Like the exploration bug,
oh, yes.
which is the thing that, they come down from the ISS, and they're
Yes.
like, now what?
What's
Okay,
next?
what's next?
next?
What's the next project?
What's the
Right,
next project?
right.
And
Sure it
so
is.
they really are up for the challenge. You know, it's amazing. No matter who we've talked to within that sphere, you have the perfect. It's the right attitude. It's the answer is yes. Now let's do it. How are we going to do it? And that's exactly what we're looking for. Is that kind of attitude, and that kind of spirit. And I think that's what's going to make a series like this have a life of its own, and you know, outlive us, hopefully. One more thing I should add is a big part of my dream with this was to have Vangelis do the music, you know, because I love Vangelis. I mean, I just, you know, Chariots of Fire and Blade Runner, and I thought, who better to create an anthem for a show like this than he? And so we're actually talking to him to
Okay,
create the
that's
anthem for this.
Mhm.
And
that would make it epic.
I
That
mean,
would
I
make it
want a
epic.
sound that no matter who hears it and what part of the world, they know it. They know
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And so this is really a dream come true, and and I'm just grateful that we're doing this on today's show.
It's
Yeah,
Gets me motivated.
Yep.
absolutely. And I mean, I don't know. Of course, I'm as biased as one can be, but I don't know anyone that could pull this off better than you guys. And I just, you know, I'm just so proud of being, you know, connected with you. I just saw Pat posting here. Bill remains my hero. Yes, he's my hero too, Pat.
Well,
Yeah.
Pat's my hero. Just
What about me? What about me?
Oh,
Well, his,
okay.
you know, he's afraid of Bill. He's not gonna. Yeah. But I'm just so happy that you guys are putting this out there. I, of course, I know a little bit of the backstage, and I know the time you guys have been investing in this. So this project was not, you didn't pull this from a drawer like last week. You've been working on this for years, and I know that. And it's just amazing to see it getting closer and closer to becoming reality, and hopefully for us all to watch it, and to just be amazed by the things that you guys can bring to us. And before we jump to the second part of our stream, because today is a two-parter, Denise, what can people do to help? Like, obviously there is a Kickstarter campaign, so they can go to the Kickstarter campaign. Maybe I can even bring it here as you speak, the page. But tell us a little bit what each one of us can do if we want to collaborate and help.
Well, right. I mean, the best thing that you can do is go to the Kickstarter campaign, and Rodrigo, you'll put up the link.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can give, great. If you can give $1, if you can give $15, the rewards on the campaign are very, very cool. We graciously, Colonel Terry Virts has agreed to provide copies of his 2 books, View from Above and How to Astronaut, in both ebook form and hard copy. Also, there's the audio version of How to Astronaut that's available too. And then, of course, if you do donate to the campaign, you can get an early digital download of the film. So that would be before it would even be released, before it would even be distributed. So that's one thing. Another reward on the Kickstarter campaign is a digital download of Colonel Terry Virts' movie One More Orbit. If you really want to get fancy, you can give $500 and get your name in the credits of the film. For a lesser amount, you can have Colonel Terry Virts' voice on your voicemail or answering machine, which is, I kind of ripped that off from National Public Radio, because I know that they do that. I mean, you know, ideas are free, right?
Yeah.
We're back.
So that's but also, if you know, people can spread the word, and if they can, you know, with social media, that's you know, that's so possible today to post things like this on Facebook and on Twitter and on Instagram.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, guys, the link to the Kickstarter is in the description below. So, open that in a tab to the side. So, I don't want you to miss the rest of the stream. You don't need to go there right now. You can go after the show, but click on the link, open a tab, or just click on it by the end of this stream, because I want to talk a little bit more about Bill's work and Bill's photography, which is as remarkable as everything else we have been talking here. Let me start by sharing, and I hope you guys are ready. Is this? I think it's. Hang on. Let me get this proper. Yeah. So I think it's when Bill photographed a musical group. Is this Coldplay? Is this what is this? It looks like a Hannah Montana.
Madonna.
Let me see the picture.
Let me see. Let's see. Okay.
I'm taking a lot.
It's
Yeah.
it's it's handsome. You know those boys?
Yeah, the Hanson brothers.
Yeah.
Oh, exactly. The
Bill, this is 1965, man, and
Right.
and so basically when you're not cave diving and almost dying while filming documentaries and finding human remains of 14,000 years old, you're shooting the Beatles. The Beatles. Is that what's going on? Is that how it works?
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about this experience,
Well,
Bill.
it was quite a story. I won't make it too long, but I had a great boss back. I was working as a cub photographer, a darkroom person, and the Beatles came to town, and we were part of UPI Compics, and we got all these press passes all the time. They just issue blanket press passes, and then they would tell us whether or not UPI wanted, the shots. And they didn't want them. They had so many Beatles pictures. And so I asked my boss, can I have the passes? He says, yeah, take them. Nobody wants them, And so I went, and I probably shot about 20 rolls of black and white Tri-X. And I shot with a Hasselblad 1000F for this shot. And then others, I shot with my beat up used Nikon F and mostly 135 millimeter. But it was fun, and I printed a few, and I think I was published in the Washburn paper. I went to Washburn, and then they sat in my files for years, and I finally had an assistant who started printing them.
And then eventually it became a book, right? Like you released it as a book.
Denise produced a book called A One Night Stand in the Heartland. And we, in fact, it's ironic. My computer's sitting on 4 of those books. So they're good for something these days. We sold many, and then it was just, we had a big show over at the History Center and had a lot of fun with that. So this whole era came back to me. And Denise made the observation that looking at the contact sheets that most of them were girls that I thought were pretty, and then a few shots of the Beatles.
That's fantastic. And now we have, these are the
Beach Boys.
Beach Boys. Okay.
I got backstage passes for the Beach Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And you can actually move through a few of the other images, and I'll just identify them. There's a close-up of the Beach Boys. Really lovely guys, very funny. I got Brian Wilson backstage even playing on a piano. And so I was able to get kind of mixed up with these rockers. And it was really fun for a 17, 18-year-old kid.
And here's one of my favorite from your pictures.
Yeah.
I think it's just I mean, we've talk a little bit about this picture, because this is just it's pure art to me.
It's part of the principle. And I learned it early because I was shooting for magazines. Even as a fairly young kid, I shot for Downbeat and some of these other music magazines. Twin City A Go-Go, they called it. And I learned to go where the other photographers weren't. And that's a big lesson, I think, for photographers. And this was shot, obviously, from backstage. when Louis Armstrong was here in Minneapolis. And the guy came up, the security guy came up to check my badge to make sure. And I had passed as I was leaving. And then he looked at me and he says, you know, that's not going to turn out. And I said, really? And he said, no, you're shooting into the light. And I said, well, I'll just take my chances. So,
well, good.
yeah.
Yeah, this is just a magical shot, and I think we have another one from this series. Which
This
is just,
what the reason I thought this would be a good idea to put it in is it shows from the same angle what you can do if you're choosing different lenses.
yes,
It's a different world, and this was the shot of Louis was 135 millimeter. This was a 28 millimeter Nikkor lens on a Nikon camera. And it's important to have a variety. I learned that very early on in magazines, provide the editor with the variety. And same thing as in film, provide the editor with some options. So they don't swivel around in their chair and then say, now what, Bill? You know, so shoot a variety of focal lengths, and shoot a lot of film if you're you know, looking for something special.
It's a magical picture. It's
Yes.
a magical picture. I would, you know, I've always seen this photo in kind of a, you know, on 8.5 by 11 or smaller. I think it would be best served as a, you know, wall size, so that you can really get the, really feel it, you know?
Well, thank you very much. I think it really bespeaks Louis and his group and his band.
yeah. Denise, you organize Bill's work, like you curate his material, and consider that Bill is, you know, his range is so wide. How do you how difficult is it to put together a collection of work from Bill? Because, you know, one box will have the I don't know, a tribe. Another box will have the Beatles. Another box will have. How do you come about organizing that? Is that a dream or is that a nightmare?
Well, it's a nightmare if I'm leaning over her shoulder.
You know, we're going to get to some other images in a minute of his that I didn't even discover until 6 months ago. And so it's very frustrating. Bill has, I think we've only scratched the surface, in my opinion, of what he has. We have a whole storage room just off to my left, which is filled with transparencies that we haven't even gone through. So that, if that answers your question, we've got a ways to go.
Yeah.
I've done a lousy job of curating because I need him there to.
I don't think so. I need your eye. You're a great editor.
Yeah, I mean, like this picture, for instance, Bill. I don't know if you wanna fill us in a little bit about the background on it.
Yeah, I spent quite a bit of time for ABC News and the McNeil Lair Report, if you remember that. I was filming and shooting stills in a refugee camp in northern Thailand while the Vietnamese army occupied the other side of the river. And we were being shelled, but luckily the shells weren't reaching us because the howitzers they had were inadequate. But it was a scary time, but it was a totally rewarding experience. I lived with a shaman and his family, and that's an experience I'll never forget. And I was lucky enough to just keep shooting every day, both film and stills. So you can progress through, and this is a young lady that lived in a house next to us, or a hut. This is a knife manufacturing area where these men are forged. They forge the knife, they sharpen the knife, and I became fascinated with them. Did a lot of photography, and they would from time to time take what we used to call Big O, an opium break. So that's what the gentleman. That's a very special pipe that is really kind of special to the Hmong people. And it was a Hmong camp that I stayed in. And this is a young lady. This is in Honduras. And I was traveling down there, and we were kind of traveling in an area that was controlled by the local gang, militia, cartel, whatever. But the cab driver that took us there, we went there because the director of the show, this is a greenhouse area, wanted to get black orchids. So, but this is in Honduras, and we were negotiating with this guy for black orchids. This young lady is back in the camp, refugee camp. She was, I would wander around the refugee camp all the time. I had forged my credentials. We had forged them to get in. And I was forbidden to be there at night, but I would hide in the huts from the patrols. And so I stayed with the family for 6 weeks. This was a young lady I found while I was kind of wandering.
Bill, I noticed there is a warmth to your photos. You have there's like from photo to photo there is this warm tone to it. When was that a choice, and when did that choice came to your photography practice? Like, when did you incorporate that as your signature? Because I see them in so many of your pictures that I have to believe you have that as a preference and not as something that sometimes happens.
Well, some people have a tendency to put like a skylight filter on the front of the lens, a 52 millimeter or 72 millimeter skylight filter. Instead of that, I put a warming filter on. And I like the warmth, the skin tones that it created. It was a filter created by Tiffin, probably in the early 60s for Richard Avedon or someone else. But I bought warming filters for my lenses because I tended to like the feel, and I could manipulate the film that way, because we had no Photoshop or anything. Denise chose this one, and for her, this kind of typifies the refugee experience.
Refugee within a refugee camp. I should just note that this particular story in Thailand of the Hmong is the basis for another screenplay that Bill and I are going to write after when we have some time to launch into a new one. But it's an amazing story. There was a gentleman who lives here in the Twin Cities, actually.
Did you include that in the selection? That's him.
Yeah. There he is.
Yeah.
And he was a medical worker. He'd served in Vietnam, and he was a medical worker, but he was really a drug runner. And his medical workers were mules within the heroin trade, in the Golden Triangle, or as they call it, the Golden Crescent, or Golden Triangle. I think.
Triangle, yeah.
Golden Triangle, with Kun Sa, who was the head at that time. And flash forward to winter in the Twin Cities, the police discover a dead, frozen body rolled up in this man's garage. And how did that get there? And so that's just a little taste of a very cool, true story. That
interesting.
It's a good one. Yes.
I ended up as a witness.
As a witness.
Won't ask how that went. This is an interesting shot. This is the Mekong River, fairly far up from the Mekong Delta. And I shot it from not far from the camp. And the Vietnamese army was all along the shore. That's the shore that was captured by the Vietnamese and held until, mid 80s. They withdrew, and it started to rebuild as Laos. And so I just wanted to have something that represented the Laos in the show. There's the kids, and this shot really represents the confinement of a camp like that, where you're under guard, every move is watched, you're not really a citizen, you're in a refugee camp. Yeah.
Oh, this is such a powerful shot, man. Wow. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's probably I'm looking at it. I still have pack rat. I have a 180 millimeter f2.8 Nikkor, which photographers will respond to as a very versatile lens. 72 millimeter, it takes 72 millimeter filters, and I've used it a lot over the years. I've just always had two bodies with me, one with a wider lens, and then the 180 was just a real go-to.
Oh, I love this one.
Little girls, yeah. These little girls, I would shake my finger at because they would follow me everywhere. And they would, because I was wandering and sometimes going in the hills, I'd have to say, shoo, go home, because I was afraid they'd get too far and get lost, but they would follow me constantly. They were kind of like the manatees.
Right.
Years later, I had a manatee fall in love with me, and that was a prickly relationship, shall we say.
Well, did you see that documentary on Netflix of the octopus that had was that kind of relationship?
I loved it. I loved it. It's so good. If you spend a lot of time in the sea, that happens.
That happens.
Yeah, become a sea creature. I just like this guy. Yeah.
This one has there's such a drama to it, right? Like with all the heavy shadows on the back, and you barely have the eyes. You barely can make the eyes of the subject, and it's such an interesting composition. But again, if you look for it, that warm thing is there, like your signature is there, and I can easily find that in every single one of your pictures. I think that's a beautiful fingerprint.
Well, I've always believed, especially before you can develop, as Enrique Ribas, who's been on way before Photoshop and stuff, but I believed in manipulation of the image, either through some filtration, either through Vaseline on a piece of glass. I mean, I used to make my own star filters, with chapstick and my fingernail on a lens, because I hated star filters that looked so manufactured. So I'd make this filter manually, and my assistant Peg used to call it the Gorp filter. So I would say, Peg, go get the Gorp filter out of there. I'd have to refresh the chapstick. These are other little kids. I just had a real following and a love for them, because they would come every day. They didn't have a school. The clinic wasn't operational. They were in rough shape, and so they wanted to follow and play and see what's going on. So
many of the Hmong were resettled in Minnesota, and and so we were hoping once COVID subsides and we can resume some sort of normalcy, we wanted to work with the Hmong Museum of Minnesota and be able to, we believe that there's, because of the range and the scope of the diaspora of the Laos, that we could there probably has been some displacement, and there's probably some reunification that's possible. I'm sure there are family members that are wondering what happened to other members.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I've had people, I made duplicates of slides years ago. This was 1982, and probably in the early 90s, I donated some duplicates of slides, and people have called me actually on the phone and said, that's me, as a kid. So we're hoping to set up a kind of a library, because I have so much that there. This young man is in Brazil, and at a sugarcane field. And I shot this a long time ago. It was 1976 when I shot that. And I spent some time in Brazil. And subsequently, I've been back to Rodrigo's home country several times over the years, and even to the point of having my equipment confiscated.
Well,
I sit in the hotel room for 4 days until it got liberated. So
we're good at that, Bill.
I love Brazil.
We're good at confiscating stuff.
Yeah, I've just never been to Brazil on vacation. It's always been work.
Bill, I think this is it might be well, I don't know how interesting of a question this will be, but why is it that it's taking so long for us to get the film look in digital? Like, it still takes so much manipulation, so much treatment, and so much to get, like, for instance, if I can go back to this picture here, the tone, the texture, what is it about film that is so magical and so difficult to achieve in a digital composition?
I still wrestle with that too, but because of the digital ability to be manipulated, of course, this is all shot on, happens to be Ektachrome, but I shot a lot of Kodachrome, a lot of Tri-X, obviously D76 1:1s to soften it. But I've always been a real believer in manipulation. And now that we have Lightroom and we have artists like Rebus and we have people who really know what they're doing, you can get a lot out of in the digital world, which didn't really begin to be the case until quite recently.
Right.
Many people, even in cinematography, have accepted the digital look. And but it's hard. The film look is quite special.
Yes, there is an Instagram. I think it's an Instagram account or a hashtag that I follow, and maybe our guests know about it or want to know about it. But it's called Looks Like Film, and it's all about digital photography that, with the correct treatment, with the correct manipulation, ends up looking like film and giving that look.
Yeah.
So
I think we're closer rather than farther away. I think.
Yeah. Maybe we can bring us one of these guys from Looks Like Film. Let's try to bring them into the stream.
I think that would be great.
That'll be lovely. But Bill, before I end this, I want to go to what I know to be Denise's favorite picture of yours, and it also shows the range. So let me quick jump on this one. Is it this one, Denise?
I can't decide, but maybe Honolulu Man would be maybe my favorite.
Oh, that's early black and white.
Black and white, yeah.
So
this is beautiful too.
It was a study I was doing on cowboys, and it again gets back to filter manipulation. This is an 85 filter, and it's commonly used to convert tungsten film, or film that is balanced for 3200 Kelvin, to 5600 daylight. It's commonly used for that, but I like to switch it up a little bit. And again, it's trying those different options when you're on location. Try a shot with a filter. Try a shot with a couple different focal lengths of lenses. Don't be satisfied with one. Try a few and see what happens. And this is part of a longer series. But this filter is commonly used in cinematography, because at one time negative was made only in tungsten to be used under tungsten light, so you had to convert it. So this is a cinema filter used to make a still picture.
Well, Bill, let me end with another philosophical question. Since you mentioned cinematography, today we have the ability to produce the most amazing movies, right? Like we can take sequences that look like each frame looks like a piece of art.
Mm-hmm.
Why do we all still love the still photography so much? What is the magic behind that one frame that when we look at it, it's better than watching an entire, 2-hour 4K movie that's as gorgeous as the picture?
Well, I think it's the ability, and we had, uh, Bill Allard on probably one of our first shows, and his pictures tell a story. And this, I tried to tell a story with this picture, but that's important. What story are you telling? I think identifying it, that helps you. Like Bill said, Bill Allard said, he said, I don't take pictures. I'm given pictures. And I think a lot of that is true when you're walking around, when you're working with people, when they understand that you're not there to take something. You're there to be part of their story. And I feel that, like some of the children shots, things like this shot, every photo needs to have a story. And once you establish what that is, then the photography becomes a lot easier.
On that note, you should just show for a second the black and white of the man. We call it Honolulu Man, but I think that exemplifies.
Well, I can explain how that happened, and the fact that what makes that shot, the way it appears here in the show, so interesting is it's a blend of those two worlds, of film and of digital. I shot this in an alley, probably 1 o'clock, 1:30 at night. I used to go out with my friend Rick Gold, and we would wander the streets of Honolulu, especially in the wee hours, because people really reveal themselves as closing time approaches. And I shot this guy in a back alley, and there was so little light. I was shooting tri-X. I was pushing the film, and that means overdeveloping it. And also, I shot at about a quarter of a second. And I shot a series of him. He really didn't notice me. And this one was the one that really appealed to me. But the negative was so thin, I had to print it on, at that time, Agfa Brovera number 6. Very, very contrasty, just to get detail. But then we worked with Rebus and manipulated even that. We made a print. We couldn't get anything out of the negative. We made a print. We shot the print. And then Rebus helped us decide where we wanted it in the tonal range. So this is kind of a combination of all techniques.
All the worlds, yeah.
Right, and this is a nice one.
That's beautiful. Well, Bill, you are my hero. Denise, you were cool because we have Cynthia here who's saying,
Oh,
there you go. There you go. Thank you, Cynthia. Bill, thank you very much. Denise, thank you very much. I wish, of course, the best of luck with the Expedition Earth project. I'm pretty sure our audience will spread the word. Those who can will, of course, collaborate the way they can, and I'm sure you guys appreciate that. And before we go, I just want to thank everyone again. Once again, it's just a pleasure for us to do these streams here every week. We love it. We want to do more. We also want to talk more with you. So feel free to write to us at hello@luminocenter.com. Send us an email. Let's talk. Send us suggestions. We're making friends with these streams. We have Carl here who watched the first stream, and he's been our friend ever since. We talk every week basically, and we'd love to make more friends. So thank you so much.
Thanks everybody for watching.
Like to follow. Yes,
what a pleasure it is to have you here.
And guys, once again, thank you so much. Bill, congrats on your work. You are not just a remarkable photographer, a remarkable professional, but like Pat Carney said, I mean, you are his hero. You are my hero too. You are my favorite photographer, and I'm really, really happy and proud to be your friend, man. And
Thank
I
you.
I hope
And you.
I hope to learn a lot from you with the years to come. Okay. All right, everyone. Goodbye.
Take
Goodbye.
care. Najong.